International Republican Institute and the National Democratic Institute are sister organizations dedicated to promoting democracy worldwide. We've both been in Nigeria for several decades. We operate all over the world in support of giving people the opportunity to secure their own freedom peacefully through the electoral process. My name is Randy Schuneman. I'm the Vice Chairman of the International Republican Institute based in Washington. We are conducting a joint mission in Nigeria with 40 observers. We're going to 19 states plus federal territory. We also have long-term observers. Belinda is with the National Democratic Institute, with which we're jointly doing this. She's been in the country for several weeks looking at gender and inclusion issues. She's from Zimbabwe. We've had a number of meetings, but I'm going to get right to it because I come from politics. I worked in politics. I worked at presidential campaigns for congressmen and senators. And this is what elections are all about as parties. We've offered to meet all the major parties. Unfortunately, the others, and we understand it's a busy period, even though it's silence today, we understand it's busy. The election is tomorrow. We greatly appreciate you taking the time to meet with us. One of the things we've heard, I was in Nigeria for the 2019 elections, one of the big differences this time is you guys. Maybe the biggest difference. And as someone who thinks increased participation is critical for successful democracies, that's a positive thing. Whatever happens tomorrow, that's a positive thing. But we'd love to hear from you problems you've had in the run-up to the election, why you think you've been so successful in certainly capturing international attention and also young Nigerians' attention, and what you think tomorrow will bring. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. I appreciate. I must thank you for your efforts. You are the second group I'm meeting with from came in. The other one was the United Nations. I met with them, and I was impressed also. Now I'm meeting with you, so I'm happy. The truth is, in the Nigerian politics, before this time, it's as if it's a particular set of people who have been in leadership positions, and most of them have been there for 15, 20 years, rotating. Either today they are House of Reps, tomorrow they are senators, next tomorrow they are ministers, just the same type of people. And yet the nation is not moving forward as it is supposed to move forward. Basically become a consumption nation, just depending on the resources generated from oil and all that. So it has really affected the nation, the level of inflation, everything, the insecurity situation and all that. And it happened, it got to a point when the youth started clamoring for, when there's a group of police called the SARS. The youth started protesting because of some certain actions of those people on dual arrest, killing of innocent youth and all that. So that metamorphosized to this because the youths now are now aware that, look, it is time for the youths to have a say in government, because the truth is, whatever that is happening in Nigeria, the youths are the most hit. Now, when it get to a political season, the politicians will engage the youths, buy guns for them to go and disrupt the process, large ballot boxes and all kind of thing. And after the election, they abandon them. No good quality education for them, no good job for them, and the youths will turn to engaging in youth resistance and every other act of violence. But this time around, the youths have realized, because they saw a man, they saw a leader in our principal Peterobi. They saw somebody that had what it takes based on his antecedents. He was a governor in Anambra State, and he has a track record of achievement. While in Anambra State, Anambra became the first state to export vegetables, and they made millions of dollars from it. But other states are depending on money being sent by federal government and all that. But Anambra was the first state to export vegetables. So people saw the quality in the man. They saw that it's somebody that actually have what it takes to change the economic situation. He did in Anambra, After he left power, he was not no owing of other people. Some of them, they will leave government, they will owe thousands of workers. The new government that will come will start borrowing money to pay. But he came, he inherited such debts, but he paid all of them and he was not owing until he left office. And he left a very huge amount of money for the next government to start with. So people have seen all these things. People have heard what he has to offer the Nigerian. What he has to offer. They've seen it, they've seen that this man is actually coming to work. He's not coming, but of course he's a businessman. He has what to take care of himself and his family for a lifetime. But he's coming, he's offering himself. So we are seeing it. Peterobi is not running for president. We are seeing that we are running for president through him. So this is our project. That's why I see that all the youths, irrespective of the party they belong to, even the ones in other parties, when it comes to the presidential election, they are all obedient. We call ourselves the obedient movement. They are all keying into that direction because they've seen that amongst all the other presidential candidates, Peterobi is the one that has what it takes to actually liberate Nigeria, what it takes to bring about the real meaning of democracy that we claim to be practicing, which we are not. So the youth have seen that, and the youth have also their consciousness is now awoken because they have seen that in the past they have been used and dumped. Now this time around, the youth, they want to be useful to themselves. And that is why the youth today, they are obedient and they are useful. They don't want to be agents of war and violence. So that is why you see that all the youths are coming, they are lining together in the various states, and they are all clamoring support for Mr. Peterobi. Because they believe that if Peterobi comes on board, Nigeria will actually move from where we are as a consumption nation to a productive nation. We will begin to produce things, begin to export things, and then we will not depend solely on oil. So that is why you see that the movement is gaining momentum day by day. Those in diaspora, everywhere, they are all clamoring support because actually Peterobi has what it takes. He's intelligent, he's disciplined, he's prudent, and in fact, he's a man with a vision. He has a vision for the new Nigeria. So that is why you see all the clamoring, all the coming together of the youth, and of course the youth have the highest voting strength. So if the election is not rigged, Peterobi has already won the elections because all the youths, you check our voters register, the youths are more, and all the youths are for him. So when you check the women statistics and the men, he's already won basically, and we are hoping that the election will not be rigged. And that's why they are also calling on international observers, the UN, and everyone, group like you, to also do your best to see that this election is not rigged, because if it's rigged, the youth will not agree. The youth will not agree. They will take to the streets. But we don't want it to get to that point. We want a situation whereby the election will go peaceful, and then Peterobi, because we know he's going to win the election. Now, in terms of campaigning, we've actually faced a lot. There have been hitches, there have been activities of vote buying here and there, and that is why we also like this new CBN policy that is trying to curtail some of these excesses. You know, there have been issues of vote buying and all that. Sometimes some of our agents here and there have reported that they've called them to send an account number, they want to give them money, they want to do this and all that. So they have been trying to do that. But because the people are willing, they came out with their mind, they have rejected all the offers that have been made to them. So here in Rivers State, the government came up with Executive Order 21 and 22, which was actually targeted to witch hunt other opposition political parties in the state from actually campaigning. What are these laws? That you can't locate a campaign office in a residential area. Yes, it is a good law. It is good. But the point it came was too late, because most of the political parties have already rented offices. So it came too late. So that it looks, of course, which it is, a political witch hunt. Because if you are coming some few months to election to say don't have office in a residential area, and the political parties have already rented offices, and you start sealing up their offices, they show that you don't want it to campaign. They came up with another one that you can't use public schools, fields for campaign, which was the normal practice before now. Before now, even this same government that brought those laws, when they campaign, they use government fields. You just go normally, use it, but make sure you clean up the place, the public facility. But now they place a law that you must pay 5 million and apply for 2 weeks, of which even if you do that, they will still not approve the place for you to use. So all those things are targeted at limiting and preventing opposition from campaigning. But we as a party, we tried to bypass all those things. We took a different approach to campaign. We had to go to what we call door to door. We took the campaign to the hands of people. So we avoided all those rallies not to contravene the government directives. But despite that, there's also been issues of violence here and there. We've had cases where some person went to campaign, they open fire on them, they scatter the venues of campaign and all that. Though we, as Labour Party, we've never been attacked before because we are peaceful, we are not after anybody, so nobody should be after us. But other political parties have been attacked, some persons have even been killed just for campaigning. So we now begin to wonder how the elections will be. If during the campaigns we have recorded violence here and there, how will the elections be? We had cases where they started importing ammunition to different areas to create violence. But we are begging them, we don't want violence. We want the election to be peaceful. It's a contest, we all go there, vote for candidate of our choice. And then whosoever wins the election. Those are the challenges we've had. But by God's grace, the campaigns are over. We've been able to manage all those situations. So now we are heading for election, and we hope that everybody, those that are power tasty and power drunk, will be able to drop down their sword and allow the voting process to take place in accordance to INEC guidelines and regulations. So that is it.
So, if the Labour Party has heads like you with your eloquence and passion everywhere, I have no doubt how tomorrow is going to turn out. Thank you for that. Let me be a bit provocative here. The criticisms of the Obi phenomenon, the Labour Party phenomenon, there are a couple. The one is that it's an online phenomenon that's magnified far beyond its worth. I think the disparaging quote is 4 people in a room on Twitter. The second, and this came from a Nigerian friend of mine who's quite sympathetic, is you don't have the other candidates and the infrastructure to get the people out to vote. Yeah, a lot of young people registered to vote, but are they really going to vote without those other candidates, without the infrastructure? How would you respond to those two criticisms?
Yeah, normally it's normal when people see lights coming out, people will always try to criticize here and there. They say we don't have structure. They say we're only on Twitter, in a room tweeting. We say no problem. We organized 2 million march, some states 1 million march across the nation. And they saw real human beings. In Rivers State here, we did 2 million march, and they saw the whole state was on lockdown. We shut down everywhere. The whole are borrowed from Oyemi down to Elewe Junction, no movement. They saw the crowd. So if we are just on Twitter, where did those people come out from? Do we manufacture them? They became afraid. The next thing they said, hey, the people don't have PVC. They don't have PVC. Now I can tell you, more than 85 to 90% of us have PVC. So tomorrow we are going to show them that we have PVC. See, they say we are in a room tweeting, but they saw that match was done in all the states in Nigeria, and they saw the crowd. Now the good part of it. If they that empower now they want to do such rallies, they will spend millions and billions. To me, we don't spend nothing because the people came out on their own. They were not induced. They were not cajoled, they were not promised. They came out on their own. Nobody promised to give them, nobody gave them transport money. They all came out on their own. Without any logistics. They paid their transport. Yeah, that day we had rainfall. People were standing under the rain, they refused to leave the roads. Going for the march. That would be possible with a lot of resources. But without resources, people came together and they saw the strength. So it was a show of strength. To actually show the world that we are not just on Twitter, we are not just online, we are on ground. Because that day they saw us on ground all over Nigeria, different states. And then on the 18th, we also did again. Simultaneously, we did all over the states. We found all over the world, both people in diaspora did on the 18th, the same day. Here in River State, we did all the LGAs the same day, the same time. And it was massive. So I wonder when they say we are not on ground, don't have the structure. We have it because the youth, they are real human beings, they are not ghosts. At least the video clips, the pictures are all there. They saw it and they are all afraid. Now, when you talk about the other one, you said that we don't have other people that, yeah, of course, we have other candidates. It's not only Obi that is running. We have other candidates because we as a party, we understood that we are heading to a political revolution, that we are about to be a change in Nigeria. So we took our time to select people that don't have baggage. Yes, we took our time. They might not have money, but they are pure, they are clean. I'm not saying they are saints, but they are not as corrupt as the one in the system. They are not. So we took our time to select them. Some of them we are not willing, we talk to them, give them reasons why they are accepted. Unlike what they do in these other parties that are in power, they will just sit down and write list. Whosoever they like, say you, House of Rep, you, Senate, and that's all. No, they won't allow the primaries to take place effectively. They will choose by themselves and then they call it a democratic process. When you don't allow people that are eligible to volunteer themselves to run for the primary to win, you just sit down and pick people. And that's the problem of Nigerian democracy today. When you pick those people and you put them there, you control them. You tell them what to do, and they will listen to you because you put them there. You spend the money for them, you did everything for them. So they will, when they bring money for consulting project, they tell you, oh yeah, bring the money. Take this one to this person. You take this one. You take this one. You give me this one. That is what they've been doing. Because of the issue of godfatherism, somebody will sit down there, pinpoint, pick people, and put them in positions. But we didn't do that. We called people, we begged people, interact with people, talk to them, convince them, people that have character and integrity. So please, this is why you need to run. We gave them this, and they decided to volunteer themselves to run. So we have such people. And we know that we're going to get, most of them will get on board with Peterobi. And of course, that is the only way Nigeria will play. Because if Peterobi wins and these other elements that we are trying to get rid of are still around him, they will still try to impeach him or influence. Of course, when he was a governor and number, they impeach him twice, and the court upon it. They will still try the same thing. And that is why we believe we decoded all our followers that look, it's not about Peterobi alone. Those other persons going for House of Representatives, those going for Senate, they are all important because they will be with him to change the narratives.
So I'm going to turn it over to Belinda and my colleague Lauren, who I should have introduced, who's IRI's West Africa and Central Africa expert. Actually grew up in Cote d'Ivoire, but this is an unfair question.
Okay.
But I'm going to ask it anyway. You have to be confident on the eve of the election. You've worked so hard. You've put everything into this. You've got to believe you're going to win. But it is possible tomorrow that even if it's free and fair, or in a runoff, even if it's free and fair, that you could lose. How do you take this incredible energy that has been developed, this incredible movement, building on the youth, the need for change, the obvious need to do what other political parties haven't for Nigeria? How do you move that forward in the absence of winning an election? Is that possible?
Yes. Well, we on our own, we've also thought of this. We've sat down. That is why we've also sent out persons to carry out surveys in various states, go to the streets, different edges, interact with persons, questionnaires, who are you going to vote for. We've done such surveys. We engage different organizations to do, and the pointer is pointing towards Peterobi winning the election. The pointer, all the ones we've done so far. And the margin is, from all of them, is far. So let's assume there's anything, it's just that the margin will be close. We will still win the election. But if it doesn't win, that means there must be a foul play somewhere, which of course we'll go to the tribunal and we are going to ventilate every arm of the law available to us to see that mandate is being taken back. So that's what we're going to do. We're not going to kill the energy. We are hopeful. We have the confidence. We believe that we've done what we need to do. We've done the needful. And that from what we've seen, from the surveys we've done, from everything, all the pointers we've gotten here and there, we are sure that we are going to get victory. That is why we are not trying to buy any vote. While others are trying to buy votes here and there, inducing people. Yesterday, one was caught with $500,000 and all that. We don't even have such money safe. Where are we going to get 500,000? So we are just here and we are still working. We are still moving. We are still going forward. So we are optimistic. We are very, very, very certain. We are very, very, very sure that Peterobi is going to win the elections. As long as the elections are not going to win, because the truth is, any average Nigerian that is normal, that his brain is working well, vote Peterobi. That is the truth. Except otherwise. For sure.
You have certainly made them nervous.
Can you tell me more about, I know the youth and many people believe youth are going to vote for Labour Party. What about Labour Party youth candidates? What is the proportion of candidates in Labour Party who are actually members of this youth demographic?
Wow. I can tell you that 90% of our candidates are youth, especially in Rivers State.
Under which age? Which age are we working with?
Well, for those going for state assemblies, I can tell you that they are between 30-35. Those going for representatives, some of them to 30-35-37. Those going for senate are in their 40s, except for one that is in his perhaps 60s. The rest are in their 40s. Okay, the ones going for senate 40s, 50 and 63 of them. Those for reps are purely young. Purely young. The state assemblies, young people. We have women going for assemblies. We have women going for house of representatives. And then for the governorship, a woman is our candidate. So at least 90% are youths. Of course, I'm a youth. So you can see that is the kind of candidates we have. People that are not corrupt yet.
You've had another major accomplishment too. As someone who's over 60, to hear a 61-year-old candidate referred to as the youth candidate is very important to me. So I think that's great.
Well, yeah. Since to your time too, but I do think there is something to. So he mentioned they grew up in Cote d'Ivoire, and I don't think Nigeria is unique to the phenomenon of older oligarchs maintaining power in Cote d'Ivoire. It's been the same thing with Ouattara and Gbagbo and Didier all these years. And I remember as a kid when I went to elementary school, having these players back in the 80s still, now still part of the political process. So I do think there's an opportunity, regardless of how things unfold, as Randy has suggested, that the momentum not only for Nigeria, if things don't turn out at the election the way you hope, that momentum, not just in Nigeria, but I think in the region more broadly, is setting a precedent and an example of the possibility of the youth actually playing an influence in the political and electoral process. So just curious if you've thought about that, the broader, ramifications of the success of the Labour Party recently. Yeah.
So it's clear. We have also, like I said before, we've checked here and there. We've also weighed the options of what happened. That was what prompted us to take those surveys around to see. In Nigeria, it's funny, but we are always bold to speak out, because if we don't speak out, then who will speak? That they said the youths are the leaders of tomorrow, but it is not working in Nigeria. It has never worked. The same people ruling from the 80s are still the same persons circulating within the power sector, and they are not doing anything. The countries like that today, we are still parting electricity. The money they spent so far was supposed to have up to 25 to